Uh-huh.
Welcome everyone to the third Thursday Co-Creators Convergence call. Today is July 19th, 2018, and my name is Noelle Marshall, and I'm here with my beloved
Bob Warner.
And together we call ourselves
Light Partners.
And we are so pleased that everyone has turned out for this call tonight. And we have Jade Rehder, who a lot of you met at our last CCC, very powerful healer, shaman, beautiful being, was just so authentic and so offering to us at CCC. We're so happy she's joined our family. That was the first time she was with us, and I know she's going to be with us in perpetuity now. And then we're also going to be she's going to be joined this evening with Laura Barton. And Laura Barton is a very special being too, who connects with source light. Mm-hmm. And so as soon as Bob's going to do a little introduction to tell you a little bit about Co-Creators Convergence, and then we are going to turn it over to Jade and Laura to do a centering. And then, as we always do, then we're just going to cut you loose. Just let us, we're going to have conversation. They're going to do processes with us for probably about 45 minutes, and we're going to save about the last half hour for any interactions. However, if Jade and Laura want to do it something different, they're most welcome to. Yeah. So without any further ado, Bob, you want to tell everyone a little bit about Co-Creators Convergence, please?
You bet. And I also am very, very excited to see such an amazing Hollywood squares of light beings here on the screen this evening. If Noelle and I seem a little wacky and underdressed for the occasion, we just finished driving 1,650 miles in 3 days from Sunrise Ranch, Colorado to the Washington, D.C. area, so that we can be with the Youth Climate March on Washington on Saturday and be at a family wedding. So that's my excuse for our good looks. So a number of you are new to this call, and so I want to share with you about the Co-Creators Convergence. The Convergence community is a heart-resonant community of uniquely gifted souls dedicated to embodying and amplifying our collective consciousness, thereby co-creating a world that works for everyone. We do this with great love, with compassion, honoring all realms of creation to accelerate the awakening of humanity. All of you are invited to be a part of this community in any way and every way you would like. There are 4 ways that we gather in community. One is the third Thursday of every month. We have this call, which is always a very exciting highlight of the month. We invite you to participate in it. We invite you to be a guest on it. We invite you to invite others to be guests and invite others of your friends and circles to be on it. We also have 2 places we're connected 24/7. One is on the worldwide interweb at www.cocreatorsconvergence.com, our website, which has information of upcoming events, and also has an archive of all of these Third Thursdays calls all the way back to the beginning of 2014. So it is an amazing collection. You're welcome to go and look through and see who have been the ones that have guided us through these Third Thursday calls. We also have a very active Facebook page, and we invite you to join that. And lastly, but not least, is when we gather in circle for the last 6 years as of this June, and we've now signed contracts for the next 2 at the wonderful Sunrise Ranch in Loveland, Colorado. And we invite you to join us there. So we sit in circle there, knowing that everyone is a co-creator with spirit and with others. We don't have presentations. It's not a workshop. It's not a convention. It's not even a retreat. It's really different things for different people. For many of us, we consider our annual family spirit family reunion. And so we invite you to join us there. And with that, Noelle?
Well, I think it's time to turn it over to our illustrious guest, Jade Rehder, and I'm going to unmute you, and Laura Barton, and turn it over to you to have some kind of centering, and then take us into your process, and also do not leave this call without letting people know of your services and how they can contact you, because I know that's one of the things we like to do is, you're so gracious to share this time and your talents with us as volunteers. And I know you do very powerful work, and I want everyone to know how to be able to get in touch with you. And I will also publish that if I haven't already on our websites. No, we already have.
Mhm.
So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Jade and Laura.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Laura, would you like to do the centering?
I'll leave that one up to you.
Okay.
You're
We didn't
good at the
discuss
centering
this.
part.
We're very organic, so let's
Yeah.
just. So as you allow yourself to relax into the space you're in, if it feels appropriate, lean back. Notice where your physical body is touching anything solid. Honoring the solidity of you here in the earth plane, present and connected. You put your hand or hands over your heart.
Mhm.
You will quickly be centered within your heart center, into that connection of conscious co-creation from the heart. And if you have your eyes closed, when it feels appropriate, open them.
Thank you, Jade.
So, Laura, we talked about a topic, and the topic that we came up with to share with everyone is around how the pain in life really allows us to hold more light. And do you want to share a little bit about how you came to doing the work you do from the pain in your life?
Absolutely. I've had I've lived a lot of life, is the way I like to put it. And in late 2011, I had 3 deaths in my family, just boom, 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 within about as many months. The last one was my husband, and I'll tell you, that pretty much laid me flat. Honestly, I didn't know what to do. I looked at Spirit and I said, everything that I've done, everything that I've been trying to do isn't working. I'm totally scattered. What do I do? And so I went on a road trip, and eventually that took me to the Oregon coast, the end of January 2012. I remember standing there in an awesome storm with rain and wind and high surf, and I'm going, okay, God, I've done all this stuff, I've gone all these places, I've sought all this help, and I'm still lost, dazed, and confused. What am I supposed to do? And I heard this, you're to go to Sedona. And I thought, Sedona, seems there was a country western song about that. I think it's in Arizona. Something about spirituality. Okay. So I called a girlfriend of mine. She used to be the president of our Rotary Club, and I was her secretary. And she also had a travel agency. And I said, Linda, I'm supposed to go to Sedona. And she says, well, I don't know how you're sitting for money with everything that's just happened. She said, we'll look at a flight a couple weeks out. And I said, no, got to go tomorrow. And she's going, no. That's going to cost an awful lot of money. And I said, it doesn't matter. I was told to go. I want to go tomorrow. And I did. I flew out of Portland the next day. I was down there for a couple of weeks. And I'll tell you, I worked with just about everybody that I was attracted to. And finally, one day, I had a lady do an essential oil session with me, raindrop therapy. Some of you may be familiar with that. And at the end of it, she says, I'd like to try something different with you. And I said, okay, go for it. And she did. And it was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. And on the plane home a few days later, I knew that was what I was supposed to help other people do, is that type of work, which was a hands-off, very powerful modality based on a unique spectrum of energy, light, and information. So when I got back to Oregon, I sat there for a couple of days and went back to Sedona a month later and received an activation and got a training and started working with my friends and family, the veteran community. I was really attracted to that. And I found that by putting myself in service to others in that capacity brought the healing to me that I needed. You know, I was able to step into a fuller version of myself than I ever had and really embrace the fact that there is a very powerful source of energy that we can each and every one of us draw on to help co-create with others the balance that they're looking for. And with me, over the last, 6 years, it's morphed into something even much more. When I went to Sedona a few years later and worked on the people that worked on me, they said, you know, you're working directly with source. You need to tell people that. You need to bring that forward. And I've been doing it ever since. And each time I work with someone and help them come to a greater state of balance by infusing their energy field with light, it charges me up too. All that flowing through me just keeps going. It gives me an opportunity to get completely out of myself and just be there for other people. And I mean, I've been asked to clear buildings. I've been asked to clear properties. I've been asked to clear communities, and it just keeps getting better. The more I do, the better it feels because of the ripple effect throughout our collective. Each person I help, Jade, each person you help, it just ripples on in the most glorious of ways. And that's what I'm here to do.
Beautiful, Laura. So the pain took you on a journey, which then brought you to what you're up to.
Exactly.
My story is different and similar at the same time. So pain brought me to being the outward keeper of the clear technique of making change. I had an activated pain body after a divorce. When you think something's forever and that's how you code it in your own field and it's not, some major shock and trauma happens. And I personally activated my own pain body. And then even with as much training as I had at that point in my life, I kept feeding it with thoughts, feeding it with experiences, feeding it with emotions. And eventually that pain brought me to a place where I was a no matter what. It's November 2014. I'm on the Big Island of Hawaii. And I'm not living in paradise. I'm living in hell. Even though I'm living in a very nice house on an absolutely beautiful island with massive opportunity. But I had activated all of this pain inside, and I'm on the root chakra of the planet. And so I'm dealing with survival. I'm dealing with tribalism. And I'm dealing with massive, massive pain. And I literally stomped my feet and being raised a good little Catholic girl in northern Minnesota, scream up at the ceiling, which is where access to source God is for me when I'm upset. And eventually I figured out I had a pain body activation. That took a while. Yet I was told that that would bring me a lot of things in my life. So personally, I work with people in different ways with shock and trauma. I actually have a piece of light technology that is very gentle and can work with shock and trauma distance. And my favorite thing to do is to work with people doing a guided channeling of 5 different heavy hitter divine energy groups. And they're beautiful. Everyone has access to them. I always called them they my whole life. I thought everyone had access to them. And within the shift modality of transcending interference in your field into your highest state of consciousness, they come together as the energy of clear, K-L-E-A-R, all caps. So getting out of my pain body, and it was a journey, was a great way to understand how pain allows you to hold more light, and the pain and frustration you go through in life, how that is an opportunity to shift consciousness, of course, and perspective. Yet it has given you strength, and it has also created a stronger field of energy that you bring with you on this journey in planet Earth. So there's us, there is who we are a little bit. When Laura and I talked about doing this, we talked about wondering what pains you have all seen that you feel have really helped support you in moving forward.
Jade, can I just interrupt here a little bit?
Noelle, of course you can.
Okay. Everyone has just had a little bit of introduction to what Jade and Laura are bringing to the call. And what I want to do now is just tell you a little bit more about them, because I think so far they've been pretty modest. So I just want to give you some more background on them. So I'll first start with Laura. Laura also has a name that she's given, Iiahanna. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly.
It's actually Iiahanna.
Iiahanna.
Two I's.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she refers to herself simply as an expression of creation. I love that. Her passion is immersing clients in a powerful spectrum of energy, light, and frequency, referred to as source light integration, elevating their entire vibrational aspect to clear blockages and bring balance on all levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Clients describe incredible experiences where instantaneous healings occur, as well as amazing shifts in consciousness. She's an ordained minister and ascension coach. She facilitates groups and individual healings with clients, and I know people who have had wonderful experience with her. She does this with people around the globe, and her greatest joy is bringing people to their most complete expression of self. So that's a little bit more about Iiahanna. Also, we're going to call her Laura, or as she prefers.
Or both.
Or both. And then I also want to, give you a little bit more background on Jade. And I did this kind of a reverse order, not on purpose, but I think it's working out well, because they kind of gave you an introduction to the topic. And now I'm just going to throw a little bit more depth here so that everybody can jump in the pool with them, because I just think it's such a beautiful offering. But Jade Rehder is a passionate, multidimensional coach, empath whisperer, master energy alchemist, and founder of Clear Channel Experience of Healing and Awakening. And that clear is K-L-E-A-R, and it's all caps. And she shared with us on a previous call what that is, and I'm sure she will more during this call. Jade has a way to rock your world, and we all know that from CCC. Over the past 2 decades, Jade has focused on advancing the collective consciousness by working deep inside and studying ancient ways, including Hawaiian Huna, to support us all to expand our bright light. So we have 2 very bright beings, and I think that there was also an invitation now. At any time that you want me to open the lines, Jade or Laura, I'll be happy to do that. So I'm going to turn it back over to you at this time. Sorry for that little interruption there. But
all good. Laura, did you want to take it in any other direction? I heard Noelle tell everyone that we're taking them through an experience. And we had both thought we had a limited more time, Noelle, than what you're talking about. So we weren't planning experientially doing anything major. It was more going to be more of a topic expansion on how pain expands the capacity to grow into more light capability and more light capacity is a better word.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's true. And another part of that is once, as all of us have seen, once we work through an aspect of pain or uncomfortableness, discomfort, whatever you want to call it, often that brings up room for more to come to the surface, which is a beautiful thing and to be celebrated. It doesn't always feel that way at first, but when you recognize that each time you clear and release this stuff, and more come to the surface, and more and more and more, eventually you're coming to a place of full clarity. And that's really what it's all about. That's really what it's all about. So this process that we're all going through comes and goes in waves. Once you get comfortable, you can pretty much anticipate that there's going to be some more to come up, and then you'll be comfortable again. Isn't that what you would say, Jade?
Well, I see it being comfortable, but then I see the way when an up level of an energy comes to you or something new comes to be dealt with, where we're at as we evolve is at response instead of reaction.
Yes.
So I agree with totally what you're saying, Laura. And I love that the more we defrag our own personal computers, the more we get ourselves out of default creation mode, and the more we get out of third dimensional consciousness as constructs, the easier it is for us to see that beautiful opportunity as a teacher, even when it is painful, in a short period of time, like within minutes often, and at the most days. Because again, the more we all evolve, the more we have wonderful people around us who can say, what's up, Buttercup? No matter how they do it. It could be a post on Facebook, it could be a message, or it could just be telepathic.
Right. So your invitation now, if I understand it, is that you're inviting others to share how this may have be worked or be working in their lives, how this pain.
Yeah.
But is that, would that be?
That's a good way to share it. It's more to allow more people have a little bit of possible feedback, or where Laura or I can explain, okay, in my life when I went through something somewhat like this, of course it isn't what you went through, here's what I saw, and here's what I was able to do, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we're going to open it to the floor. So if anyone has anything they'd like to share about, and also I read to you their introduction. So if there's anything on, that intrigued you that you'd like to ask them about that, I'm sure that's fair game as well. They like to get to know them in more depth. So if you don't want to, I guess I can unmute everyone. And then if you have something, does anyone want to share with Laura or Jade?
Well, I'd love to give a recommendation for both of them. I've known Jade for, 15 years, maybe. So I knew her when she was still married, before she went through that divorce. And the energy and the capacity that Jade has is quite remarkable. And in my 18 years of working with masters, I think I have a good reference point for that. I mean, just quite amazing. And Laura, so the combination of the two is really an interesting combination, because Jade, when I've worked with Jade, we've been specific about what we wanted to clear. If you're in her field, you feel her field and you go as high up as she goes. But then we get specific. What do you want to work on today? So you get, it's more narrow, whereas Laura, it's so expansive and so big you don't know what you're working on. You are just out of there. And it's remarkable, the changes. It's like your veils start dropping away. So it's not a conscious, oh, I think I'll wear the pink one today. You don't really know what you're doing. And Jade does a little bit of that, but in my experience, I've loved working on the clears because I could see where I had blocks to productivity or to my heart, and then be able to say, okay, I need this, like a recipe, and be able to work on it. Whereas what Laura does, it's very different. They're beautiful together, beautiful combination. So I highly recommend both of them, and I feel so blessed that I found them both. So
thank you, Kathy. And you did point something out. What Laura does there, she's not talking to you, by the way. It's not where part of what I'm doing is using the channel through my voice. So I'm talking when I do the work and Laura's silent. So it is, we do work in some of the same field, absolutely. Yet it's very different. And I agree with Kathy about veil drops. And I'll tell you what I experienced with Laura. She was able to, in 3 sessions, get rid of ascension symptoms that I couldn't get rid of with any physical modalities. Now, I don't know that I ever tried to do a clear on it because I'm in me, right? But I had a major shoulder thing, which is related to our heart center. And I watch it happen with so many people. And in 3 sessions, it's at 97.5%. And my guess is that 1.5%, I still got something to figure out on the inside. And I'll get her. Or maybe the shoulder, after so long, just doesn't want to quite go back where it was. So, yeah.
Well, that's very kind. Thank you both. And it is, what I do is different. I just simply access and direct. It's not up to me. I keep myself clear out of it. If you told me, if I was working with you and you told me you wanted to work on something specific, hey, we can do that. No problem. The reality of it is, if I focus on that one thing, I could be missing a whole bunch of stuff. So by stepping out of it and allowing the divine to do the heavy lifting, it just happens like magic. And I respect totally why people come to me, a shoulder or a knee, or boy, I'm just so stressed out. I'll go back and target that after we've done the non-directional work so that there is that focus. But overall, the beauty of it is not dealing with that at all and just letting it flow. And I love my experience with Jade's work has been absolutely incredible because, like she shared about mine, there was something that was present that I couldn't get rid of because I was in it. And it took years for me to work through the layers of all my stuff until I came to the realization that, whoa, there was something so far back before time was even measured that I needed to work on. And Spirit guided me to approach Jade about it, and boom, we were done, right? I mean, how cool is that? It changed my life. It changed my life. So the way that Jade and I can complement one another and our clients is proving repeatedly to be nothing short of magical and miraculous, in my opinion.
Well, maybe that's what we're going to call you two now, magical and miraculous. Does anyone want to jump in here? It looks like Guy.
Yeah, Guy here.
Go ahead, Guy.
Yeah, I have a question. I mean, I'm sorry, my questions are always very basic, but I'm a little bit lost as the exact meaning of what you labeled pain. And the reason why I'm asking the question is I want to make sure that I didn't miss out because I can't recall when I was in pain.
Well, that's beautiful, Guy. And what we're meaning by pain is hurtful life challenges. And I can remember some in your life. So it's cool that you can't, and I love it. Just ones you shared with me a year ago. So like, but when we go through life struggles or life's hurts, we use the word pain because pain, suffering, and victim are third dimensional consciousness that tie us up. And Guy, you don't play much in that realm, which is very beautiful. But we mean pretty much any big life hit. Laura, would you agree?
Oh, I totally agree. Pain has as many forms as there are people, because everyone's different. Everyone experiences circumstances different. I could have something happen in my life that would be very uncomfortable, and yet someone else, it might not even faze them, although it could in a totally different way. So pain can be a lack of comfort in any respect. It could be something traumatic that we experience in our physical body, our emotional body, our spiritual body. It could be something less than traumatic, but like I said, uncomfortable. So the main thing is, the more we work through those pieces, we get to a place where we're working through it, as was mentioned earlier, much faster, with greater grace and ease, as we continue to grow into the beings that we are becoming in this time, after all these many, many times of learning. So it's just a blessing to be here in this time. We can look around the earth and we can see what's happening that is uncomfortable for people, and with love and compassion, we can help them address that even without contacting them in any way, you know, just by being loving and compassionate for someone else's experience, holding that space.
Absolutely. And Laura mentioned that something would be big in one person's world might not be big in another. What's big in your own life? Honor that. It doesn't matter what's big in our life. I remember being told by the husband that I'm divorcing how strong I was. And even though my pain body was already activated, all he saw was the strength. So outside people see certain things in you, you know what's going on inside. And even if it's nothing that you can figure out, that's okay. Because Laura and I both work on lots of things that people can't figure out, and we don't even need the words of what it is. That's really magical. And at this point, Spirit has me mainly working toward things. Meaning, like, if we were going to do, and I'm not sure if Laura's ready for this, or if that's, like, if we're going to do a short blast of source light and then maybe a clear to, we would decide as a group what it would, and here's where I sit, light. Yet everything in your way between you and light could come to awareness. So this is why when we're working towards something, we've got to be very mindful of, if we've got a lot in the way, it will be brought to you if it's for you to evolve in this lifetime. And that's a truth. And with ease and grace, with gentleness in a time period, but we're talking about some great stuff. So here's my head that goes, if we clear to the light and then Laura blasts after. So it's the learnings that still have to be. There's no spiritual bypassing in Laura's or my work. None. We can't take your lessons for you. No one can.
Yeah,
I just don't believe there is spiritual bypassing, truthfully.
No, there isn't.
So comment and a question, ladies.
Please, Bob.
And thank you, Guy, for asking more clarity for yourself about this definition of pain. Boomer decided to take me out and show me some fireflies there for a moment, so I was going, had to go out and see fireflies I haven't seen since I was a kid in Maryland. And it got me thinking about this word pain and what it means to me. And two things. One, for me, is that I find myself being more and more, and I'd appreciate your reflections on these two things. I find myself being more and more sensitive to the world's pain. And And when you started, you said this is about sort of investigating, becoming more aware of what is pain for us individually, and then allowing that to open us to more light. And so as I become more and more sensitive to the world's pain, I mean, listening to the real news today as opposed to what too many are watching, you know, to know that there's an entire country of Yemen where 1/3 of the people are dying of starvation. When I feel that pain for myself or for them, it opens my heart to more compassion and a recognition that that is what is mine to do. Completely separate from that, and both Laura and Jade and a few others on this call are familiar with the fact that I've had some physical pain, including during the convergence. And actually, it's the 3rd of different episodes of pain I've had since last summer of completely different things: hernia, shoulder, back. And that physical pain in the last year has helped me open the light, if you will, open my eyes to the blessings in my life. That, yeah, those things have been painful, they've been inconvenient, they've required me to change my behavior, they've invited me to ask other people for help, which I might otherwise do. But in all of that, it has been an opportunity for me open to the light that blessing is. And blessings in my life, and a recognition of blessings in other people's lives when it comes to their physicality or their physical pain. So my share and any reflections would be welcome.
Beautiful, Bob. You mentioned, you know, how the physical body pain has brought you to more compassion and also looking for the good in life. There's a lot of this going on for many of us. And it's escalating if we aren't paying attention. For many of us, it's the slow down message. It's to go inside. In my own personal life, that's what the pain has brought me. The sensitivity to the world's pain. We dropped into a 0 point for, I don't know how long on Monday, but for a short time, we as a collective dropped in there. What I have seen, feel, know, and experienced in my own life is a heightening of sensitivity. Sensitivity energetically, sensitivity emotionally, telepathic sensitivity. Like, I watched an upgrade of, it's under 50%, but it's tight. 47 is what I'm scaling. Certain people have up-leveled that sensitivity. And Bob, you're talking about, that would have always been painful. But right now, as we have the capacity to be in that 0 point field of unity, it's even stronger. That's my reflection. Laura?
You know, this last couple weeks since I got back from Oregon, I went to Oregon recently. I went through some really incredible shifting, and it was very painful, and it enabled me to review, release, and renew on a level I hadn't experienced. And since then, the last couple of weeks that I've really come back into self, I have been very, very much more aware of the different emotions going on in the world and in the collective. And I've always been really sensitive about that anyway, but now it's like, whoa! And I have to be very discerning and how I approach that pain that I'm picking up from everywhere. And like I said earlier, noticing it with love and compassion is really the greatest tool that there is, if you just send love and compassion at it. Because I have to go through this process of going, okay, well, is this a me thing, or something coming up from way back there, or is this a family thing, or is this a community thing, or is it much broader than that? And 9 out of 10 times, guys, I'm serious, 9 out of 10 times, it has absolutely nothing to do with me. And all I can do is just think, whew, and sit back and love and light it, totally. So that in whatever capacity I'm able to, great or small is irrelevant, I'm just taking that step forward to try to help people get a little bit of that balance back, release some of that stuff. That might be kind of a roundabout way, Jade, but that's something that I've been going through lately and where it's at for me.
Well, and you're mentioning something, Laura, that I want to bring to awareness because of the pain it actually created in my daughter's significance. And that is that we have to get back into our bodies every morning when we come back to awakened state. And this is more important now than ever. He did this Sunday morning. This is a young man who does, like, is a black belt in martial arts, but is very mindful. I blew his mind by telling him the most mindful thing he could do is blow his mind. But he's still got a really clear thinker kicked in. But after an ambulance got called and everything else, I mean, we're talking major stuff happened because he wasn't in his body, and he got up and affected his lungs and his heart and how his blood was flowing. You know, I was guided to explain to him what I do when I get up in the morning. And I thought, why am I telling this young man my morning ritual before my feet hit the ground? And after I told him, I said, well, here are the 2 reasons I do these 3 things in the morning when I get up, because I've been paralyzed at least twice to where I can't move, talk, hit the person next to me. I can barely breathe. And once was a psychic attack, and I figured out where that came from and how to make sure that I was in a place where that was no longer available to that soul. And the second time was I wasn't in my body. Pretty much wasn't in my body at all. And until I called myself back in, I couldn't move. This young man was observing himself from above. He's like, Jade, I was looking at my own shoulders. I wasn't in my body. So as we heighten the light and the energy on this planet, it's really important that we find whatever it is for ourselves to have as a morning ritual before our feet hit the ground. I know Laura has a beautiful ritual that I've watched her go through. Mine is a lot of its imagery that I do before I even put my feet on the ground. And if you guys want me to, I'll share it. It's pretty quick. I can just tell you the 3 things I do. I cut cords with the other side because there's so much work we're doing when we sleep. Anything that's supposed to stay and is in my highest and best always stays. But anything that is surplus is gone. And I cut cords with I imagine I'm inside a gyroscope, and it has blue and red lasers. So I'm cutting hot and cold cords. Then I do the etheric drain, which is as simple as imagining a drain underneath yourself and bringing in divine rain to clean through your fields, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and then bringing in golden light to fill it back up. Boom. And then there's my soul sourcing technique, which is a little longer, but you guys can all get by putting your name in the purple band on my website. Because that's where the empath pain relief kit and the drain directions are in there. But I do that because soul sourcing, the magic of soul sourcing, however you do your connection, this little piece can help you. Ask your chakras to magnetize to your light pillar. And when they're magnetized, lock them there, anchor, establish, and maintain them. And that allows you to traverse the world with the awareness of what's going on without the absorption. And that's what's really, from where I sit, important. Laura mentioned sending light and love to the big energies that we pick up. I completely agree. I also ask my spiritual field to do the mitigation of anything that I have a co-responsibility in that I'm being told is collective, instead of having it in my physical, emotional, or mental body. I figured that out about 10 years ago. And it makes a huge difference to not have it be in my inner awarenesses, and my greater awareness then takes care of holding the space while divine does the work. So.
That is beautiful. And you know, my process is a little bit different. As I lay there and I'm just thankful, you know, when I realize that I'm awake. Then I grab a stainless steel spoon from the bedside table, and with my non-dominant hand, I run it on the bottom of my foot from my heel to my toes. Usually I do it 5 times. And then I switch hands to my dominant hand and my non-dominant foot and do that 5 times. And that brings me into a greater state of balance. I like to use sage in the morning. I like to use oils in the morning over different parts of the body, usually over the heart, the third eye, and the crown, and clear my field with that. And the soul sourcing that Jade described, I do something really similar. I see the platinum star, the 12-pointed star in the center of my head, and I pull it down through my field, and anything that doesn't belong is going along with it, and I anchor that all the way into the very center of the earth. And then I pull the earth energy, that fantastic love, back up through all the chakras, all the way up through all the fields, and connect it into the grand central sun where I started from. And then I pull that back down through and fill everything up with that. And then I play my bowl. Those of you that were with us at CCC know how much I like to start my day with that sunstone bowl. So, you know, it doesn't really matter what practice you've got, as long as it's a practice that grounds, centers, balances, clears, and rejuvenates you so that you can move forward in your day protected, confident, capable, and filled.
Agreed, Laura. Because my first thing I do is thank you for letting me be here to play today. But it's so automatic that I don't even consider it part of the practice. Because I got a physical body and I get to feel, I'm like, woo, we're doing the physical again. Let's party.
Hold it down, Darren.
So Noelle, where are we at time-wise, hon? What are we looking at?
We have until the top of the hour, so we have plenty of time for more interaction.
Okay.
Our calls are 90 minutes. And it looks like Shanti would like to chime in here. Is that okay?
Go for it, Shanti.
All right, Shanti.
Of course, you know, I always have to speak up. I'm so happy to hear, because I know both of you, and I haven't worked with Jade yet, except what you gifted us at the CCC, but I have worked with Laura, and of course she's my daughter, and so I know her well, and I know where you guys are astrologically, ascension-wise, and the energy that you are bringing in, the light you're bringing into the planet. And I'm so happy to hear you spending time talking about our physical bodies, because I've noticed that some people, when they start off on the ascension staircase, it's kind of like, how far can I go? How and it's sort of like they dismiss their humanity, and they don't acknowledge that it's such a gift that we have these human bodies that we were gifted. And I spend a lot of time in the Akash with my own personal divine crew and others when I'm working with them. And I hear a lot them saying, oh, we're so happy that through you we get to experience all these things that humans get to experience, you know, the senses, that the sunsets, and you know, things that humans have the pleasure and the gift of. And yeah, pain is part of that because that's where the lessons are. And then some people get caught up in saying, oh, I'm going to get rid of that pain and learn that lesson, naively not realizing that, yeah, that was that class. Now the next class is, and so on. And that's another part of us being here. And so it just goes on and on. And the way you were describing your work, it reminded me of when I'm doing Reiki or dowsing, and it's just like the energy informs us. We don't have to understand it. We don't have to know anything about it. It goes where it's needed, and we just have to follow that. And I'm complete. I love you all.
Thank you, Shanti.
Thank you, Shanti. Okay, I want to dive in on this.
Dive, Pamela, dive.
Oh, I'm so relating. Thank you, Jade. Thank you, Laura. And I'm so relating to what you said, Bob, and to what everybody has said about the opening to compassion through the squeeze of pain. And in the past 3 weeks, I was witness to a huge amount of physical pain. My mother carrying pain, my father who never had physical pain, moaning and crying, in a way that was so shocking to me to see my strong father in this state. And then my aunt who had a fall and then surgery, and then my sister who I used to travel with needs a hip replacement, and she's like in so much pain every step she's taking. So by the time I came home, I was 5D CCC flying high, and I came home and I'm pretty empathic. And I'm not saying I took it all on, but as you talk about these constellation of events that happen, they're teed up to take you to a place where you're going to process some of this, integrate it, feel it. And I ended up feeling not well at all, and found out that I was suffering from exhaustion. I have adrenal fatigue and fighting some viruses, but mostly it was just this, depressed. The word depressed is actually deep rest. When you just need the biggest deep rest ever. And so I'm on the 4th reading of Pema Chodron's book, When Things Fall Apart, just because it's good to do that. And I've read it 10 years ago when I had a deep dive. And so I love that I was reading in When Things Fall Apart. Pema says, we need both our inspiration and our wretchedness. Because if we're only, our inspiration connects us to the sacred, to our creativity, to our light in a certain way that expands us. But if we have only inspiration, we become arrogant. This is her words. Our wretchedness humbles us and connects us to others' pain. And the thing is not to get stuck in the pain, to get over-identified in it, but we are human. And the mind can start taking you all sorts of stories, and then the body gets heavy. And so what I've been noticing is that inspiration wants us to share. And pain can be so isolating that it can kind of put you in a state where there's something really wrong with me, when in fact, we're being given the opportunity for this incredible quiet quarantine to go deeper and deeper and deeper into our soul work, where we have the courage to touch the edge of our terror, to not abandon ourselves in our pain. And I know, working with one of my dear mentors this week, who's been working with me, and he said, so few people can be in the depth of their true anguish and pain. We will do anything to not feel it and not touch it. That's why our world is full of addiction and denial, and not in this group, of course, but everywhere else. So I'm just saying this because actually, as I was sitting here, I didn't feel like I could speak because I've been so tired. And I've also come to a place where sometimes that pain, you know, it makes you have to make some decisions. And, you know, recently I had to make a decision, which some of you probably know about. And when you are in that quiet quarantine, it's such a gift in so many ways, but the tendency of pain is to contract us to the point where we're listening too much to the what is wrong with me, when in fact, there's a deeper invitation to make a change and to have the courage to make a change without fear of how you will be perceived. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. So I had to stand true in this quiet quarantine and take the fertilizer from this dark richness and go back to the love, because fear says, oh, if you do this, then you won't, you know. And I just had to keep going back to my body is so freaking tired and I don't want to cook up some illness more than I've already got. So I just keep coming back to that tender self-love and self-compassion, that when we can be with our pain, meet it and love it. Man, oh man, woman, oh woman, and the baby bunnies. I have been filled with so much light in the past couple of weeks as I give myself permission to the sacred yes, the sacred no, and where is my joy? And if my joy right now is I need to sleep 11 hours, the head's going, oh, but you have to do this and you need to accomplish, and this feels good to be out in the world. We're not really taught to be in that quiet quarantine. And I have been there, and I've been finding it to be a really rich place. And my throat's been sore for 3 weeks, and it has felt like there is a sob for my parents, for all the things that have been going on in my family. So I offer this as a release, and that this exact topic was so perfect for me and so many. I think it is a personal and planetary miasm that we are tapping into right now, and that we must come back to love and not be afraid when we are brought into that full stop. So thank you for holding me and loving me, and I love you all, and I have goosebumps. I am complete.
Mahalo, Pamela. You, in a roundabout way, also discussed the other thing that we're all going through as a collective, which is embodied ascension. And as we embody, we have no choice but to be in the pain that we are experiencing, we created, or we stored. And this is such an opportunity for us to, like you said, so much more light has been able to come into your experience. And with that,
I sent a message to Flo.
and those of you that don't know Pamela who are on the call, Pamela is an amazing songstress. So for her voice to have an effect, be at effect in her, is going to take her into a place of quiet no matter what. My sweetheart has a great saying whenever I'm like, I just want to be in the yummy stuff. And he goes, honey, you wouldn't know it was yummy if there wasn't some yucky. Because I stay out of negative and positive. So I'm like the yummy, yucky girl. I'm like, that's yucky. I don't want to, yeah. But you have to feel the yucky sometimes so that you can then notice when yummy happens. And when you have access to even more yummy. So thank you so much, Pam.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful, Pamela. Thank you. Also want to say hello to Richard Yap, who's joined us. He was at CCC not this year, the year before. We missed you this year from Australia. Yeah. And Darlis would like to share. Darlis.
I have some comments. First of all, I really love both of you and your collaboration. And locally, we just started a couple months ago a new holistic group of providers locally, and it's grown to like 60, 75. It's just crazy how it's exploded in a couple of months. And so you've given me a lot of fodder to take to our next event of really working deeply and richly with each other. And so I really thank you for combining your gifts in such a beautiful way.
Yeah.
That is the new co-creation, is it not?
There you go.
That we're not working in these silos anymore. We're coming together and see how we blend and weave together. So it's just a wonderful thing to witness with the both of you. And I have been in quiet quarantine myself. Nothing up, just really high energy. And one of my roles on this earth is to hold the human consciousness grid in my heart and send a lot of love at this sometimes difficult time for others. And since I'm not there, I can just send it a lot of love and energy. So that feels really good. So just love to see, I love seeing everybody here tonight. It's really wonderful. And thank you.
Thank you, Darlis. And speaking of people that are here, I want to welcome some that joined us a little late. Marissa, and I don't know where Marissa's calling from, but she's most welcome here. You can unmute yourself and introduce yourself if you like. We also had Kate Red Clover join us, South Dakota. Hi, Kate. Rosemary, welcome. I'm not sure you've been on one of our calls before, but you're most welcome. Third Thursday of the month. And Romel from California has been at one of our CCCs. We missed you this year, Romel. Hopefully you'll come back. And finally, Raina Shea. And Raina Shea is kind of moving about the country, 2 weeks here and 2 weeks there. I think she was just with our Elsie for 2 weeks in Michigan. So welcome to the rest of you. And if anyone wants to jump in here, Flo, Julie, Diana, did you want to jump in?
I do, yes, thank
Wonderful.
you. So I met, I've known Jade online here, done some of her classes, and very powerful work with the clear work. Probably one of the first ones, I don't know, on when you had that. And then just recently I got to step in to lead a chant, which I had never done before, especially on a Facebook Live, but she tagged me and I just felt just to step right in and lead the chant. And so for that, I'm grateful because it just really brought up a lot of, I don't even know what it brought up, but it just brought up a lot of stuff. I just really felt the ancestors that were here to lead. We here in the physical form are here leading, and our ancestors are back here is what I always feel when I'm doing a meditation. And but the question that Jade wrote was, what pain has brought you more light? I believe that one of the biggest pains that I've had that brought me the biggest light that I experienced today is 4 years ago, I felt compelled to call a homeless shelter and see if they had a bed or a room, a space for me. And it wasn't from a space of, oh my God, I'm a wreck, or, something's wrong with me, but it was more of a surrender of me taking charge of my life. And that path, they actually did have a bed for me and a room for me and my daughter. That whole path, that whole journey was a very interesting pain for me. But then again, it wasn't pain. It was kind of like I felt like I was fighting a war of poverty. And it was painful and hard. And but then again, I knew I have my tool bag for prosperity of all the trainings that I've done and being in the coaching. It was like that opportunity for me to end that contract of poverty consciousness. Going through courts, I was in a court battle. I received an ex parte, which you have no voice until you show up to court because, and I'm not going to get into the details about it, but just to give the idea of what that pain was, that I had visitation rights, like and I had no say. And so in that moment, I realized I'm powerless, but I'm not powerless. In that moment, I realized I can't do anything. I can't go run to the courthouse and say like, hello, like everything is okay. I'm just living in a homeless shelter. So in that moment, I surrendered and just said, okay, I can't, there's nothing I can do right now. All I can do is what is in front of me and what's that next right step that I need to take. And because I had like no money, and then eventually I had no car, and I was pretty much like at that space where, okay, there's no much more farther you can go, but up. And so there were very moments where I was sitting in a car service that I had, I had prosperity inside of this poverty space. And I just remember writing in my phone notes, because I knew I would be able to share the story later, of how much shame I felt that I'm 40. I wrote, I'm 40 something. I don't know how old I was at the time. 40. I was 40. I think I was 40 because it was 4 years ago. I was 40 years old. It's in November. I'm sitting in the car and I'm like, I have this education. I'm like, I have no place to, I'm living in a homeless shelter. I have my daughter. I'm fighting court battles, and I have no car, and I don't really have any money, and I really can't, there's not much I can do. It's just to be. And then there was like all that shame and how like embarrassed I kind of had this embarrassment. But in that moment, like instantly, I even started writing, but wait a second, you have a degree from Santa Clara University. You have this money coaching. You have, you've been in sales, you have this, you have that. And it was just like a very interesting experience of going from pain into the light, like for a whole year. And I just feel like that experience, like, I'm not afraid of a lot of stuff anymore. I'm not afraid to walk the streets of, in the dark, where I used to be afraid because I had no car. I had to walk. And I grew up in a lot of fear because of my mom, put a lot of fear. And I didn't go to the homeless shelter before with my divorce, when I was locked out of the house, because I had my mom and her fears of like, oh, the people are there, and like, where are you going to sleep? And you can't do that. And when I called that homeless shelter on May 13th, 2014, I had like no fear. I was like, I need to do this. And it wasn't about living in a homeless shelter. It was about me taking charge of my life for all those ancestors and for the people ahead of me. And so I feel like that was painful to walk through that in a year, like to live in a homeless shelter with people of all walks of life. And I was one of. My thoughts got me into that place. What I believed earned me that seat there. And I had to change my thinking in order for me to get out and to be where I'm at, which is self-sufficiency. I have my own car. I have a job. I'm like, Jade inviting me she would not have asked me if I was not in the vibration to lead this chant. And to me, I believe that is part of that pain. I didn't feel like I didn't deserve to be tagged. It was like, wow, I'm being called into leadership. And so I just want to share that is a gift. That pain was a gift, an entangled gift.
This is how we clap at CCC, and we send light and love, because because a lot of times you can't see us. Thank you, Diana. That is, you created a seminar story and you were already writing it in your phone right away. Look at you go. Really, our pain is our seminar story, everyone. I mean, that is what most people want to hear, is what you came out of. We've got 15 minutes left tonight on the CCC call. Laura and I both have some upcoming things that you guys can access. So Laura, do you want to start by sharing what you have, I think, coming up next week, right?
Well, actually, thanks, Jade. I've been working with Dr. Pat Basilli of transformationtalk.com, and we've been doing radio shows once a month. Jade actually joined us on June 28th. There's one coming up on the 26th. We pre-recorded it today because I'll be on my way to Mount Shasta that day. And it's going to air at 11 a.m. Pacific. you can go to transformationtalk.com, or you can go to my website, sourcelightintegrations, plural.com, and there's a radio page, and the link is on that, and you can access it that way, and I'll be posting about it. And when I get back, starting in August, once weekly, I'm going to do live virtual healing circles. And I haven't chosen the day of week yet or time, just that it will be on a weekday in the evening when folks are home from work, and you'll be invited to join in. So I want to make sure that everyone knows about that. And I'm just delighted to be able to bring that forward in that way.
It's wonderful. That's awesome. I'm like, every week, darling? I know where you're going to be in 1 week in September. So,
well, just about every single week.
Most
Thanks
weeks.
for that reminder.
Laura, could you put in the chat your website? I'm going to put it on the Facebook page, but just if you want to know how to do that.
So I'm not the most technically astute person, but I'm learning.
Well, you will be. Okay. Very good. Source light integration. Okay. And Jade?
Sure. I have a couple things coming up because I'm getting ready to launch in August Lightworker Accelerator Academy, where I'm going to put a lot of my offerings that you guys see come out all the time in a place where people can access them even more easily and at an even more reasonable sacred exchange. What I do have coming up is on Monday the 30th at noon, I have a clear healing circle, and I don't know what we're clearing towards in this moment. Spirit hasn't decided, but we're doing a clear healing circle Monday the 30th, and next Thursday the 26th, I have one of my 4-hour intensives. And if anybody's been through any of those, they're intensives. We spend 4 straight hours. This one is on communicating with the unseen. And that's an inner communication and an outer communication. I've spent the last 19 years learning these things, and we can make it easier and quicker with less certifications if we can at least get the high points. So what we're doing has the best foundation, period, and that's what communication with the unseen does for me. So, and you can find me at jaderehder.com. Now these offerings are mainly seen through my Facebook page, which is my name, Jade Rehder. There's a business page, but I'm most active on my personal page because Facebook seems to share that around a little more than it's willing to share our business pages right now. So that's probably the easiest way to get in contact with me, is just to direct message me on Facebook. I still take care of my own. I'm hoping by September that that's in someone else's capable hands. I've already picked out the soul who will get me what I need to know. So that's what I've got coming up. And Noel, will you remind us of the dates for the 2019 CCC, please?
Yes. June 12th through 16th.
Wednesday?
It starts Wednesday noon until Sunday noon. I'll also put that on, I'm going to put it on, let me see, co-creatorsconvergence.com, June 12th through 16th.
And those dates are on the website in the banner on all pages, as well as I think now the 2020 dates as well.
Awesome.
Cool.
Oh, how cool. The 2020 dates. I love it, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. And also, speaking of things coming up, we still have 5 seats available for our Damanhur trip. So Damanhur, Italy, it's an eco-spiritual community, 700 people. It's about an hour outside of Turin, Italy. We are going to have 3 classes. They built a temple to humankind in secret inside a mountain. And we will be camping inside the Temple of Humankind one night. Darlis has a big smile on her face because she going.
Is that what you call it, camping?
Well.
Oh, okay. That's not what I did when I was there.
And Flo Badamaso is going with us.
Yep.
And if you want more information on that, you can go to Jennifer Ivanko's website. I'll put that in there.
Yeah.
And yeah. Oh, let's see. Romel's not going to be able to make it. All righty. So anyway, that is something very exciting coming up. So
Fabulous.
does anyone else want to jump in here real quick with something that's happening, or does Jade, Laura, is that okay?
Oh, absolutely. There are 3 people on this call joining me in Mount Shasta for my retreat, which happens at the same time you guys are in Dominator. And I got 3 spots left. We've got 6 out of 9.
Wonderful.
Very
So,
good.
yeah,
Yes, I shared that information with somebody who's going cross country. I don't know whether
Thanks.
she's contacted you or not. She was trying to work it into her schedule.
I haven't heard from her.
Mary Reed, she wrote the
Okay.
Mystic. Really amazing person. Dina, you look like there's something on your mind. Yeah. We're going to see Dina on. Go ahead, Dina.
Oh, I'm just excited to see you guys this weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. Bob and I are going to be traveling from Washington, D.C. We're here for the Youth Climate March on Saturday, and then my sister's reception Saturday night. And then we get in the car and drive to where we used to live in Wisconsin, stopping by Pittsburgh, where we will have lunch with Dina and Leanne and Jennifer.
Mm-hmm.
So very cool. Anybody else wants to join us? It's in Pittsburgh. That's all I know.
Will we see you in Chicago?
On the flip-flop, maybe, but definitely not on the way up.
Yeah.
We got to get to Oshkosh. We got something we got to take care of.
Yeah. There's some aviation memorabilia to download. Talk about a different life.
And Nina and Julie, we're going to stop and have coffee on Sunday afternoon with Sister Judy Crawley on our way past Cleveland as well.
Who was part of the Birth 2012 tour with Barbara Marks Hubbard, who now lives at Sunrise Ranch, where we are living this summer. If anybody is familiar with that.
So does anyone else have anything else they'd like to share? Any other connection with Laura and Jade or with the common good?
Nina.
Bob, did you just say that Judy Cawley is living in Colorado at Sunrise Ranch?
No.
She's living in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
That's close enough for a fuel stop for us.
Oh, okay.
Fuel and coffee with Sister Judy.
Yeah, no, it's Barbara Marks Hubbard that's living at Sunrise Ranch.
Right. I misheard you. I was going to be very surprised if that were the case. Yeah, thank you. No, I would just, I would offer that on the 26th, so that's next week. Yeah, next week, Thursday. As a matter of fact, we rescheduled our call for the hosted by the Milagro World Center. It's an introduction to pilgrimage. So if anyone's interested in learning more about pilgrimage, join us on that call on the 26th of July. And you can register on our website, milagroworldcenter.com. Just go to the 2019 trip and click register, and you'll be hooked up for that call. Thank you.
There you go.
Very good.
Thanks.
And we have been to the Milagro World Center in Panama.
Panama.
Not Cleveland, Panama.
We were there for 3 weeks, but I don't know where I am on the planet right now. That's the issue.
And before we close, I'd also like to do a special honoring Diana for you and for your share, for everyone's share, particularly for the transparency of you sharing with all of us here, most of us new to you in this world's journey, the transparency of your pain and the light that it brings you. Thank you for sharing.
And the authenticity.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Pamela did say she had to jump off, as did Kathy and a few others. But this has been a wonderful call. And, you know, I don't know why, but I met Jade over here and I met Laura over here. But something just said, no, they have to be on the same call together. Mm-hmm. So I hope you guys like each other.
We do.
We do.
We do.
We even roomed together. Come on, Noelle.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Our life was blessed.
She didn't even remember that we roomed together. It just she
Yep.
just was.
Both of you stuck around the area of Loveland for a few days in Boulder and whatnot afterwards. So it was our joy to be able to spend more time with you as well.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you
Thanks,
everyone for
everybody.
joining us tonight. And I think we'll close at this point. Just, you've given me a lot of ammunition because I am going to a family function. I'm one of 15 children, so it's always interesting. So I'm just going to be in that love and compassion thing. That could be my offense.
Can I share my best offense I've ever heard?
Say
And
what?
it's to say the best offense I've ever heard in a family situation, in any situation, is just to remember it's their nature. It's their nature. And so you just, oh, that's their nature. And you go to observer so fast. It's pretty magical.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that comes from, the lady who does Dress Your Truth now. She used to do Carol Tuttle, maybe. Yes. But it's their nature. And it's a way to bring them to acceptance like that and let them be who they are. And you don't have to play.
I'm going to have that tattooed.
I want it right here across my knuckles so I read it.
By Saturday afternoon. I agree to respect our differences.
Yay.
That's right, Raina Shea. It's their nature.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us,
Noah,
Sharon.
thanks for letting us lead today.
Thank you,
Oh.
thank you, thank you.
Thank you all. Yes.
Thank
enjoy.
you. Oh, there's Nina.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. I love when you guys popped on in the end.
Hope to meet you, Christina. Back there. I see you.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Everyone.
Hello.
I'm going to turn off the recording. There we go.